to have a little conversation. We're going to bring out a few very special people in the show's history. First up, the woman who has been a part of Family Guy since before the first episode ever aired, and who's built such an incredible team of animators and artists and timers and editors that Alec and I can phone it in every day. Please welcome Cara Vallow.
Cara, I just want to point, it is worth mentioning that there is one person on this panel who I used to work for, and that is Cara Vallow. Cara, when I was at Hanna-Barbera, Cara was the person that said, "You are fucking late." And she was right.
Also joining us up on stage right now, you got a big fucking intro earlier. Danny Smith, get back up here.
And finally, again, we welcome to the stage the man who created Cleveland Brown and Herbert and Consuela and so many of your favorite characters, co-created The Cleveland Show, one of the most talented comic actors and writers, Mr. Two First Names himself, Mike Henry. Woo! Woo! We're going to start off. Seth already let you know this, but Mike and Cara have known Seth the longest of anyone on the stage. I'll start with Mike.
Uh-oh.
When you first met Seth, was he a multiple Emmy-winning gazillionaire who lived in a mansion in the sky?
I knew he would be. I met him when he was in college with my brother Patrick at RISD, and he was this kind of, I don't know, a little bit one step removed. Rugby shirt wearing, kind of thick glasses. The most funny person that I knew at that time. So there you go. And so when he sold Family Guy, he said, "Hey, why don't you come out and write some jokes and create characters?" And so I did. And that was 25 years ago. 26 years ago.
He's underselling the other part of it, which is that Patrick Henry, his brother, was my really good friend in college. And Mike was the guy, was the older brother who, like, when he would come to town, we would always be like, "Fucking Mike's coming to town." Like, we're all gonna laugh, be fucking laughing all week and getting high. And
these jokes got to come from somewhere. Not anymore.
It's true, yeah, it's a long time.
It is. And you can catch our interview on my podcast. I just interviewed Seth. He told that story on YouTube. Mike Henry Bro. Check it out.
Don't monetize this moment.
I'm not monetizing it. It's a passion project. I'm monetizing this shit.
I hate the way we're laid out here on this panel. I can't see anyone. Okay, but Cara, I have a question for you. Can you see me? Cara, are you coming in? Yeah. First of all, also Seth.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, Alec.
Hi. So DiCaprio just cast as Sinatra. How you feeling about that? Yeah. Anything you'd like to say?
I listen. I look forward to future developments.
Man, to hear you say no to Scorsese would have been great. Cara, I'm sorry, you're so far down there. And we alluded to the fact that you were previously, when you first met Seth, you were in fact his boss. But when did that relationship change and you guys became partners in helping to create Family Guy?
Wow. Let's see. I think one of my most indelible memories of early Seth, in the early 90s or mid 90s, were when Seth's parents, Ron and Perry, came to see Seth at the office, came to see their little boy at the office for the first time, and he had a professional office, and he had just moved to LA, and his parents, Ron and Perry, were concerned, and you could see the concern on their face. And Seth, for as brilliant as he was, there were certain things he wasn't that great at, and most of them were like.
By the way, I've gotten no better.
I know. Like putting gas in his car, or paying his bills, and getting to work on time, and there were a few times I remember, Seth, driving you to that gas company by Rustic Inn in that mini mall in Los Feliz to pay your bill, or your shit was going to be turned off the next day. And, Ron and Perry were worried. Like, I could see it on their faces. And so Perry pulled me aside and said and asked me if I thought Seth was going to be okay. I guess because I had a desk job and I looked somewhat like authoritative. I don't know. I was an adult. And I told her that Seth was going to be fine. And then, I said, he's not only going to be fine, by the time he's 30, he's going to be a millionaire and married to a supermodel. So ha ha ha, everyone laughed. And but Ron and Perry did not laugh. And there was this look, especially on Ron's face, of not just relief, but this infinite assuagement. That was that was okay now. I had said that, and he was going to be okay. And Perry would remind me over and over again about that, and she would say, "You knew." I didn't know. And although I think not just myself, but a lot of people who worked with Seth at Hanna-Barbera, became aware that Seth had something special that the rest of us didn't have pretty quickly and pretty early on. Wasn't a huge leap for me to kind of make that switch to being his boss, to working together, and then kind of more of a shift to him being the boss, slowly.
When I talk to you today, I still sort of instantly feel like I'm working for you.
No, you don't, Seth. You absolutely do not.
Kara,
With a fucking lie.
Kara's and this is where I usually intervene. Kara is underselling herself, though, because she also just has an eye for talent and has brought so many people to Family Guy. And Seth MacFarlane, it was 11 years ago that you hosted the Oscars on this very stage. So here's the question.
My God, I can't believe it. Somebody punch me.
Here's the question. Which movie won Best Picture that year?
I believe Argo.
You got that right. So what is the craziest celebrity interaction? Someone who's been on the show, who's seen you out and about, and either loved the way they were on the show or didn't love the way they were on their show.
Wow. Listen, I've said this before. Adrian Brody didn't love the way he was portrayed in And Then There Were Fewer, but I fucking loved Splice, so, we're even. Right? It's a good movie, Splice. He's a brilliant actor, but he wasn't happy.
All right.
Good answer. All right, Alex Borstein.
Yes?
All right, you've had enough applause tonight. We don't need any more. Alex, you've won multiple Emmys for your role on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. What is it like being on a show that critics like?
I'd say in some ways it's not as fun. And in some ways it's kind of fun to be like the dark underbelly or something, something different. I don't know. In some ways it's fun that, look, we did 5 seasons on Maisel. Well received, critically acclaimed, multiple Emmys, but 5 is not equal to 25. So,
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wow. They're going to twist that in the press tomorrow.
No, I mean, there's something very special about this show. So
25 mediocre seasons equal 5 great seasons. That's we'll take it. And Patrick Warburton opens his mouth, and everyone immediately cheers because of that immediately identifiable voice. You hear it at Disneyland too. So here's a question, Patrick. What did your voice sound like before it changed?
Well, when I was 13 years old, I weighed 95 pounds and had bottle cap glasses, and I could still do a John Wayne impression that sort of sounded like this. So really the voice sort of came out even as a kid, I guess.
And you've talked, Patrick, you come from a fairly religious family, and are they all huge Family Guy fans?
Oh, they hate the show even more today than they did 25 years ago. My father was actually in the monastery for 3 months. He almost became a monk. Thomas Merton was his spiritual advisor. He's a very famous Catholic scholar, and you know who he was if you weren't heathens and watched Family Guy. My mother walked around our neighborhood when I was 13 years old passing out pamphlets on the sins of masturbation, which did not get me in with the cool crowd. Also, think about the guilt I felt when you know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty good at reading people. Don't be embarrassed, we all do it. Not as much as you, but we all do it. So they hate the show. My mother belonged to the Parents Television Council, and they were trying to get this show canceled. And I was helping support my parents with Family Guy money. And my mom tried to get me to sign the petition, and I said, Mom, if you don't think I'm going to talk about this publicly, this is the greatest irony in the history of the world. You're laundering the money. You're laundering the money, like, Catholically through whatever. I don't know. It's been a nightmare. They hate it more today than
Well,
we did.
I knew we'd get a nice, happy story. Alec?
Well and truly answered. Mila Kunis. Mila. First of all, let me say Božmuni Prezojte. And also, you have been on more than 400 episodes of Family Guy. Just hold it, see how she does. Who is the Griffin's doctor? What's his name, Mila? 400 episodes.
No, fuck, Seth.
It starts with
Dr.
Dr.
Hartman.
Why did you tell her?
Because,
You
listen,
did that yourself.
we're trying to give aid to them right now. It was a bipartisan agreement that just...
Right.
I knew that answer. I totally
No,
knew
you
it.
didn't at all. But Mila,
Yeah.
you were 15 years old when you joined this show.
Yeah.
And now, did you ever think you'd still be on it as a mother of two now?
No.
And do your kids watch the show?
No.
When will they?
Yeah, I don't know.
Too busy listening to music.
God. Fucking Muzak. Fuck Muzak, everybody. There's like
just-
2 people in this audience.
Yeah, well, we'll just-
How many?
No.
Just by round of applause.
You can't see. You can't
Just
see.
round of applause.
How? If I say the word music, how many of you? Well, no, wait. But don't like. How many of you would what a mispronunciation of the word music? How many of you would say that it's that? And how many would say that like, oh, it's the stuff you hear in an elevator? Well, this is what happened the other day. You think you've been here a while, but you've been here like no time.
And
Oh my God. Yes.
well,
Yeah, you're like incredibly intelligent, but your blind spots are enormous.
Yes. Okay.
that's a happy description for everyone. Seth Green, I think superfans may know this because I know, but the story of how you got the part and how you found Chris Griffin's voice. We're going to ask you to haul that up the hill. I have another question.
Everybody knows this. I'm an enormous Steve Buscemi fan, and I have seen Boardwalk Empire a million times. And even though it came out years after the auditions for Family Guy, I was determined to do a Nucky impersonation at this audition. Because nobody's going to pull that, and I want this fucking job. So I walked in, I was like, hello, Mr. MacFarlane, I've got an idea for you. And he was like, that's actually terrible. And I said, no, your kids are gonna love it.
That's very Marty McFly of you.
This is why I love you in real life.
Yeah.
Mike Henry, the voice of...
That's not what happened, though.
No, that's not
that's not the real
Guys,
story.
Trying to change it up.
As he was asking me that question, Alex turned to me and goes, don't do this again.
Yeah. No. The Chris design was done before we cast the actor, and he had long hair and the hat, and he had an earring, which I think we did away with. But at the time, people were coming in and doing like, hey, I'm Chris Griffin. They were doing like a surfer dude.
What's
kinda
up?
Yeah. Kind of like a Pauly Shore kind
Got
of.
the machine.
And
what?
Seth Green came in and did what?
Like my best Buffalo Bill impersonation.
Ted Levine from Silence of the
Lambs.
Lambs.
You know, the guy who's like, oh, wait, was she a great big fat person?
You've revised this account over the years, because the way I heard it years ago was you were talking to your buddy in the deli
time.
beforehand. You're like,
Happens all
I'm not
day
going to
long.
get this fucking thing.
Well, it wasn't in spite. It wasn't out of spite, but it was more that we had spent all week doing Buffalo Bill impersonations. And we were really cracking each other up. Like, I was like, this is funny. This is material. I don't know where it goes, but this is good somewhere. And I read
And it
this
went
script and I
a
was
quarter
like,
of a century.
yeah, that's what's crazy. It's actually a job. I haven't run into Ted since then. He's like such a incredible actor. I'm worried how many times I've said his name in public, right? Us on this Oscar stage, his name in my mouth. I don't know.
Listen, take his name out your mouth.
See, if we had planned to have him appear tonight and like sucker punch me on this stage, I've been trained in stage combat. I could have took that hit, guys.
Well,
That's a moment. So anyway, I was like, let me try this. This is a funny thing that no one has ever got hired for. And I did all of the lines, but as if I just wanted it to take the lotion and put it on its skin.
oh, stop! There. And we want to ask Mike Henry, I hope he's willing to tell this story of how Herbert came to be.
Well, when I was 7. Now, I had a summer job in high school at a grocery store, and this sweet old man sort of talked like that. And they had like a lot of retired people pushing out groceries, and I would just imitate him, basically just being lewd with the women customers. And hey, let me squeeze those melons, and that kind of stuff. And he was just this full Windsor tie church-going man, and I just destroyed him with my friends. And then in the Family Guy writer's room, I pitched that he was after Chris and trying to get him in the basement. And like a spark in a dry forest in that room, he became...
I saw the Black Phone movie. I know what happens in the basement.
Come on down anyway. This is sick. I have kids. This is not real. They're too old anyway now. I can't stop. Oh no.
Amazing. Hilarious. Arif. Hello, Arif Sahir. Say hello to the folks.
Hey, everybody. Hi.
So, Arif, when you were imitating Cleveland Brown on YouTube for millions of fans, did you ever dream you'd be doing it for thousands of people here tonight?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Now, are there any other impressions that you do that could potentially lead to work for you down the road? What other impressions were you doing at the time on YouTube?
At the time on YouTube, I did a lot of Barack. I did a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and actually, Ted from the Ted movies. That was really fun to do. That was really fun. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And
Wait a second. I think it should be mentioned. This is like the largest live crowd that Arif's gotten to appear in front of.
Yeah.
I just think it's pretty cool. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Make him feel welcome.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Seth. Thanks.
Not jumped in. Sorry, guys.
No, go ahead. Kara, we have another question for you, Kara. How have you and your team, through multiple strikes and a pandemic, never missed a beat when it came to keeping Family Guy on schedule?
Is that something really anyone wants to know about?
What did she say?
That's something anyway.
She said cocaine.
That's what I thought she said.
Those supply channels had no problems apparently throughout the.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it's primarily because we have the most superior mechanism for producing an animated show, and you know, a show like Family Guy it's not produced in a vacuum. It's, you know, creating a system by which
Work in path of totality.
yes, like creating a system or a pipeline by which a show of this magnitude, like a Family Guy, can be produced, where, you know, from the beginning it was to take a vision, which was Seth's vision, and a set of very high standards, and then be able to translate those successfully. You know, it was a big task. And I think that, you know, the ability to be able to go through, you know, hardships like the pandemic, more so the writer's strikes and the actor strike, is just a testament to the team we have and the ability that I was given early on by Fox to create a system that wasn't really beholden to any of the studio's ideas of how production should be done. And, you know, which was a huge, you know, it was enormous responsibility, but I feel really grateful for it. And, you know, the iconic success of Family Guy really has been like 25 years in the making. And I wanted to point out that our supervising director, Peter Shin, and we worked together on Family Guy since, you know, 2000.
Is Peter-
2000. He's not here.
We can give him a round of applause. You'd see it on TV.
He's an absolute genius.
He is. He's the greatest creative director I've ever known. He's a genius.
He's also the guy, like my original drawings for Family Guy, like the designs, the character designs were like adequate, would be generous. And Peter took them and turned them into what you see on the screen today, and the fact that they work in 3 dimensions and that they can be turned around and the geometry makes sense. And it's like, that's all Peter Shin.
He also made the cutest speed racer one Halloween. You remember that? The cutest.
Just to bring Jennifer Tilley, it's a 2-part question for you. First,
I love questions.
all right, here we are. First, how did you become involved in Family Guy? And second, has what you've made from the show ever come close to your biggest night on the World Poker Tour?
Well, I came in and I auditioned for a part. I'm not sure what part, but like one of the regular parts, like maybe the dog or something. And I didn't get it. And then I guess a month later they called and they asked me if I wanted to play the part of Bonnie, and I was very excited. And I would go in every few months, and I always had like a line like, "Hi." And then I always wanted to do the best job I possibly could. And Seth would go, "That's great." And I said, "Well, I can say it. Should I say it louder? Should I, I could do more like exuberant?" And he goes, No, you're in a room full of people. They all saying hi when somebody walks in. So I kept complaining and I kept saying, how come there's never going to be an episode about Bonnie? And Seth said, well, when Bonnie has that baby, the whole episode will be about her. And I said bitterly, in other words, when the moon explodes, and he goes in his rich person laugh, ha 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 ha. Yes, that's right. Bonnie's never gonna have that baby. And then like 20 years went by, and I walked in, and the script was Bonnie having the baby. And I said, Seth, I thought you said Bonnie was never gonna have the baby. And he goes, well, that was my idea, but we just kind of ran out of story ideas.
Do you know how long it took me to cultivate that rich person laugh? I had to watch The Jerk so many times.
And there,
Where Steve Martin goes, be somebody.
and And Jennifer, there have been many late nights in the writers' room where we were thinking, should Bonnie just have another baby when we run out of stories? But we want to now take a few questions from the audience that were submitted. The first one is from audience member and superfan Andy Arango, and he says, Seth, Alec and Rich are two spectacular showrunners. That seems more common than a question. Alec, do you have another?
We had a question from the audience. Is there a clip or meme, Seth, I know you love the memes, from the show that went viral that you didn't expect would be so popular? Anyone want to take that? Is there something you see online from Family Guy more than you ever thought you would?
A clip or a meme? I mean, a clip could be 20 years ago. A meme could be recently. A meme could be, since the world started to implode.
I was really surprised that do you or do you not feel bonita? I was really surprised that anybody ran with that. When that was at the table read, I mean, it played like it got a giggle. But somebody like stitched me a patchwork of the scene.
I kept hearing, Peter, the horse is here.
Coming out of my kid's room, I'm like, wait, am I in there?
And a lot of questions, will there be a movie, Seth, a Family Guy movie?
Yes, I have known what that movie will be for the past 15 years. I just haven't had the time to get to it. But I do know what it will be.
Is it Bonnie having the second baby?
It is Bonnie having the second baby. It is.
They're Siamese
You
twins.
sound like George R.R. Martin, right?
Can you say Siamese twins anymore? Is that like still okay?
Oh, I don't know, but I thought maybe Bonnie could have an interesting baby. And what happened to my baby? Oh, I think he went off to the army or something.
Susie's on the show.
Are we still at the Dolby?
Susie, your baby was in tonight's episode. But very quickly to end, let's just quickly rattle off favorite episodes for your characters. Is there one episode that each one of you, Mike, what's your favorite episode?
Back in the day, it was a Cleveland Loretta Quagmire, and I think To Love and Die in Dixie would be my favorite now.
All right. Jennifer, Patrick.
Oh, I like the episode where Seth put in Bonnie saying, I only do these voiceovers to support my gambling addiction.
All right. I love. When was that? Was that recent? That was about maybe 4 years ago. Yeah. I love that you think I was still working there.
Yeah, he didn't know about that. How about Seth?
I checked out so long ago.
Patrick.
One of my favorite episodes to do is when Meg had a crush on Joe, and it was just so gross and awful, and I loved it. I loved it, and I loved getting to go in the booth and record with Mila, because we always record by ourselves normally, and I got to spend a good part of the day recording with the lovely Mila Kunis, so that was great.
It's going to be awkward when Mila doesn't pick that episode in a few minutes. Seth Green, how about you?
It's so stupid, but I still love this old viewer mail episode. Like, just the fact that they had a viewer mail episode, and then that they made sketches about it, and it was that the Griffins get superpowers, and Chris is so petty. He comes up to another. He's got the power to like set things ablaze. He's like Johnny Storm.
That was, you know what? That was one of like 3 scripts that I wrote. Like I've only written like 3 actual scripts for Family Guy.
You wrote that script?
Yeah.
All right. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Genius.
Like 3. In like all the 25 years, I've written like 3 drafts.
There's a moment.
I'm a
there's
fraud.
A moment where Chris comes up to another kid at a locker and he goes, hey, Desmond, or whatever his name was at the time. You remember when we were in the lunchroom and you called me Chris Gristle? Yeah, I guess. Well, burn for it!
Yes.
Sets this kid on fire in the hallway.
Alex, do you want to pick another Seth MacFarlane written script as your favorite?
Yeah, I saw him Googling that backstage.
Yeah, thank God the Wi-Fi here is free.
Ass
Thanks,
kisser.
Dolby.
You know, I was gonna say maybe the Manchurian Candidate, but I feel like this one tonight is maybe my new favorite. Oh. I love this. I love getting to do that. It was really fun.
Seth, I know you've loved all 430, so we could go.
Probably for me, it's and then there were fewer.
Mine too.
That would be my. Because I remember working the hardest on that.
Me too.
Who's saying that?
Kara.
Oh,
It was
hey.
the hardest show we ever produced.
Yeah, right? That was, that's. Why?
Lots of drawings.
Lots of
Because
drawings.
it was the first time we were like trying to really like go for ambiance and lighting and like we stretched. We stretched.
Mila, favorite episode.
In all honesty, anytime you make me sing, as much as I hate it, it always makes me laugh. And it's the one thing that I look least forward to, but ultimately have the most fun with.
Do you remember singing The Farmer and the Cowman Can Be Friends from
Yes,
Oklahoma?
yes.
You want to
No,
try a little?
no.
Walter, strike up the music.
My favorite episode?
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm going to use my time to. A bunch of our writers are here. Will you clap if you're our writers and you're here?
Yeah, well, stand up and let us clap for you.
Wait.
Better?
Wait, where's Goldie? Shout out.
In 20 years, that's going to be this whole crowd.
Goldie, I want to hear how far back you are.
Goldie.
I love it.
He shouted that 2 minutes ago.
Thanks for your service.
Goldie, who's now also writing for Ted on Peacock, which is a streaming
I'm so gratified to hear you're way back there. All right, Viener, what was your favorite episode?
Oh, I'm not going to blow smoke here. It's between the two of you guys.
Oh, come on.
No, I hated and loved that we did the Star Wars episode that you wrote. I loved it because it was amazing, and I hated it because then we couldn't do Star Wars gags anymore.
That was over.
And I loved Rich's The Gauging episode because I got to make fun of Seth Rogen and do a fake laugh going, I'm rooting for you.
All right, Arif, I'm assuming it's maybe a new one or an old one?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. So as a 13-year-old, it was just circulating. The episode where Brian Oates doing money was just going through my high school. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think one of my favorite recent ones, honestly, is the cabin fever one. Honestly, it was really fun.
And Danny, finish off with the last favorite episode of the night.
There's 430 of them. I think to this day, my favorite is when Brian takes Meg to the prom.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know what it is. Kirker Butler wrote it, and yeah. Wait, as Tom Devaney says, once you've got him in your arms, don't be afraid to give him a little squeeze. Plus Cool Whip.
As Alex said, we have tremendous writers, and we mentioned Peter Shin and James Purdom and Don Bianchi, our supervising, and with Kara Vallow and the team she's collected, Shannon Smith, Kim Furman, Brent Crow, the whole team. We are so lucky, and we want to make one little announcement.
Yeah, what's this reminder for Hulu's special announcement?
There's a special thing. For the first time ever, next season, Family Guy is producing 2 original episodes for Hulu. It'll be our Halloween and our Christmas episodes. I expect it.
Just for Hulu.
Just for Hulu.
Wow.
And
so if you're a Biden supporter, you can go just watch the show on Hulu.
Well, we don't want to. We still like keeping them at Fox. And it said wrap.
Let's agree to disagree.
Before we end, a big thanks to the Paley Center and all the fans here tonight. We also want to thank
you guys.
Our partners at 20th Television Animation, Hulu, and Fox, who told us if we did not thank them, we wouldn't get parking passes. So thank you.